everybody, it's Romania Black, and my voice is feeling somewhat better. I've had a respiratory infection the last couple days, and it shot my voice. I had some laryngitis earlier this weekend, and my voice is starting to come back. It's still pretty bad, but I really wanted to watch this episode. It's been driving me crazy. I've been watching the last 3 episodes on the English dub earlier today, and I was like, I just want to watch it. And so I did some tests, and I feel like my vocal cords are okay. We're going to try it out, see if it goes all right. I've got tea. We'll make it work. I've been gargling salt water like nobody's business, but my voice may break a little bit, so we'll just keep it nice and good for the reaction. But I really love Great Pretenders so far. I'm caught up with everybody on Patreon. I had watched ahead, and then I'd stopped to catch up with some other things, and now we're all caught up. So just consider this week the dark era of Romania's Black's voice, just for episode 4. But we'll do like Ed and Laurent and just fake it till we make it, right? Anime Annie was saying since his name is French, it probably has this, the T is probably silent. And going back and rewatching the episodes in the English dub, they say Laurent. So we're just going to call Laurent and Edamura or Ed or Makoto, however we want to call him. But I do have some comments before we start this episode. The first comment is from Citrese. Citrese said that the cats in the ED are actually based off of Freddie Mercury's cats, which I thought was really cool. So we had the calico, which was Delilah, the white cat, which was Tiffany, the orange cat, which is Oscar, and the black cat, which is Goliath. And I think that's a really cool thing to have his cats all present in the ED. Very nice, very nice. And then we also have these other comments. Anime Annie, speaking of which, said that Salazar's character is actually voiced by the same voice actor as Taki-chan on Given and Ushijima on Haikyuu, which I thought was really interesting. And then K.A. on YouTube actually said that Abby's VA is the same VA as Damien from Spy Family. And I was like, oh my gosh, Damien from Spy Family, yes. So I thought that was really cool. Anime Annie also talked about how Edamura, it is established that he has a 3-year suspension he has to maintain to avoid the 18-month sentence. In the English dub, they say that he has 3 years and the sentence. So the English dub makes it seem like he went ahead and served, which we know from the Japanese sub is not the case. So I thought that was curious. But we also get some information about Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who is a samurai and feudal lord in the Sengoku period and was considered a peasant growing up, but then later helped Oda Nobunaga try to unify Japan through various negotiations and battles. When Nobunaga is killed by a traitor, Hideyoshi actually gets revenge upon him and takes the power and authority for himself, and through various other meetings with other companions is able to unify Japan. So it seems fitting that our boy Ed takes inspiration from him, right? Fake it till you make it, right? So I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed that little comparison there. I thought that was nice. It feels apt, right? So I am feeling pretty good other than my voice, but I figure we'll give this one a shot, see if it'll work, and just go from there. So I am excited to see this episode, y'all, and then we'll talk about it afterwards, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to start The Great Pretender episode 4 and just see, it's in a pretty precarious situation. So I'm curious how you're going to get yourself out. And now Paula Dickens is involved. So where's that going to go? So, but we're going to find that out here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. Oh my gosh. This episode was really good. Really good. And I'm going to try not to strain myself, but holy cow, there is a lot that is broken down, and the parallels between Salazar and Ed's dad, who we find out is a lawyer who basically was front running a human trafficking ring, which is awful. It's like, okay, yeah, Ed, I don't think you're nearly that bad, but oh my gosh. So we need to talk about this. There's a lot of strange, like Laurent is being shady, and Laurent, I feel one of two things. I feel that Laurent the question is, will Ed give up Laurent and Cassano together, or is this part of Ed's plan to get Laurent out? Or does Laurent kind of know that Ed's going to be used by Paula and has like a workaround for all of this? That's the big question. Like, what is going to be the workaround, right? So that's kind of what I want to bring up in this. So, but I'm going to establish, if I don't knock Whiteboard Coon over, that we have Salazar, right? So we have Salazar, who I really like his character in this episode. Him being like the dad that like knows he wants a better life for his kid, right? Which, if we compare to Makoto's dad, who will put him here. What was his name? We got his name like right towards the very beginning, right? With the case. We cut right to it. And so the one guy's a lawyer there. And like Makoto kind of looks like his dad, but then he looks a lot like his mom, Mr. Ozaki. So Ozaki is his dad. Okay. It makes sense that Edamura and his mom kept their names and they didn't want to be associated with him. Makes sense, right? Although Makoto Ozaki kind of flows together, right? So you have Salazar, who is a gang boss and is now a mafia bodyguard. And then you have Ozaki, who was a lawyer that was also a human trafficking gang leader. So you have in both cases these two characters who are like trying to be something besides what they are known as, right? And they both have a son that they want better for, right? So we established that Salazar, he can only see his son on Sundays, and his wife is dead. And they both have dead wives. Right? We don't know the circumstance behind how Salazar's wife died. We don't know if she died in something that was related to his gang, or if she just was sick, or what the case was. We don't know how she died. We just know that she's died, left him this boy, and he only sees him on Sundays, and he kind of laments that fact. Ozaki has obviously not seen his son for a very long time, if he's still in prison, and if he's not, he hasn't seen him since then. But it's established, like when they're walking home from the case, that Salazar says, I wasn't good enough. There's a little bit of a connection between him and Ed too, because Salazar's like, I wasn't smart enough to go to school, and this was kind of the only life choice that I really had that fit what I was doing. So that's how he got wrangled up in it, which connects kind of to Ed, who has established that he really couldn't get a job because of those prior things that he was associated with for the con scheme with the tea shop. So, but I do think it's important that Ozaki establishes when they're walking over from the case, he's like, it's okay if you're not good at academics, just be good at morals. So they both want better for their sons than what they ended up with. The thing that we don't know at this point is with Salazar, he says that the choice was the most feasible for him to fall in line with this business. What we don't know is why was Ozaki part of this gang. You would think he wouldn't want to be part of it with that character, but that's one big mystery we don't know. I feel like this series, if it does anything with Ozaki's character and Ed and their relationship, we're going to find out as it goes, but we're not going to find out right now. They're going to leave that hidden for us later. And maybe not. Maybe we don't ever learn. We'll find out as we watch the series, but I feel like if we were going to find out, it's going to be something that comes up later down the road, right? Right. But man, it's so sad where he's like, are you saying I look super cool when I'm working? And then the wife's like, oh, stop working all the time and come home once in a while. I like she kind of kicks him. It's really funny. And then Ed wakes up and the whole wiretapping of the bear, because when that happened in the story, I was like, okay, well, who's wiretapping who? Is Salazar wiretapping for Cassano? Is it the FBI sneaking in and doing something? Like, how far does this trace? But it's really Salazar tracing it, and Salazar did nothing with it. That's the crazy thing, is that Salazar's like, I'm hired to prevent as Huckleberry knocks over White Raccoon, bodily harm, fraud is not involved. So Salazar's like, I made a promise, but my promise is very specific and I don't have to do anything outside of it, right? So he really doesn't like Cassano. He just needs the money to help his son, and Cassano offers protection, which will, affect his, Cassano's offered protection that would help his son as well. So I do like that Ed makes the deal. So here's the thing. Ed makes the deal with Pola to work to catch Laurent and Cassano. The condition is to let Salazar go. That's the condition. If Salazar can go and be with his kid, then that'll be fine. And I really liked the discussion the two of them had together, talking about the importance, because Ed cannot relate entirely to Salazar because he's not a father himself, but he understands how Tom is in this position. He's like, your kid may be onto more than you think, even if Makoto wasn't quite understanding of what his father was involved in. He's like, your son may have an understanding. He's like, you need to be prepared that your son's going to grow up like I did, find out about your past, and that's going to affect your relationship. So you might want to start addressing it now, maybe, instead of pushing it off and brushing it aside, because it's eventually going to rear its head. I feel like Ed kind of fears for Tom, sweet little innocent Tom, who's the cutest thing ever, because he's like, your son may grow up and have to live in your shadow, and how is that going to affect him? Because he's like, it's affected me. I wasn't able to get a job because of my father's reputation and what I got involved in. So he's like, you need to let your son know and help him work past that. And so I really liked that conversation that they had at the very beginning, and then at the very end of the baseball park moment was really, really good. Where he's like, why are you here on your day off? And he's like, it's for work. And he's like, let's go get your son. I feel like Salazar Ed kind of got in his good graces, but man, this con is out of control, right? So I would put up here in a different color that we have our con, right? Because we've got several things going on at once, right? We have Cassano, who is basically spending 10 million for the Sakura Magic, and then all the cost of the factory renovations. That's insanity. That's so much. I'm like, that's not good. Not good, Cotton. Not good at all, right? I don't know how I feel about that. So yeah, the factory renovations, because that's going to just add on to that 10 million. So it's just reeling Ed in further under the guise that Ed is going to make the drug. Okay. And he's not going to let Ed go. Ed is going to stay there and make it. That's the thing, right? Meanwhile, you have Laurent. And Laurent is basically using Ed as part of his con to take the 10 mil from Cassano. Now, originally it was 5 million, and then, Ed upped the stakes, right? And then we have Abby, who is in with Laurent for reasons. I thought that was rather interesting because she makes the comment she doesn't want to get involved with drugs. And Ed makes the comment too that he doesn't want to get involved with drugs. But she stays with Laurent. She doesn't leave him. Why doesn't she leave? So there's something why is she tied with Laurent? Why does she keep staying there? What's the point? What did he do for her that would make her feel so loyal? So there's the question of why is she loyal? Right? Why is she loyal to Laurent? That's a big question, right? And then Laurent, in countering to the factory, is like, okay, he gets this guy to show Ed how to make a Sakura Magic look-alike. Now, I do agree with Ed. If the guy is actually making drugs, then I would be like Ed, well, we're still selling drugs either way. We're not con men anymore. We're actually going to be drug dealers. And I think that speaks to Ed. He is not for the con becoming a drug deal. Because that seems like it ties up to his whole dad's thing, right? Because this could be tied into it. Like, his father may have been part of something smaller when this started, and then it suddenly evolved into human trafficking, which got out of control. I'm not condoning, anything his father did, but I'm saying that it could have devolved into something he didn't expect. And Ed is seeing the writing on the wall that this simple con, which was never really a simple con, is now possibly going to involve drug dealing. And he's like, no, that's not what I want a part of. Absolutely not. I don't want to do this. So, but the problem is that then you have the FBI with Paula, and she wants Ed to play along so she can get Laurent and Cassano. Now, there are some things that are rather interesting about this. Abby, she knows Paula and doesn't like her, which makes sense. But Laurent in one of those scenes talks about an acquaintance, which I wanted to bring up, right? So I want to get to that part there where we talk about the acquaintance. So let's see here. Yeah, it's like, what are we going to do? What is your plan? And he's like, can you cook well? And he makes that thing. The thing about Laurent is that he's so mysterious. We don't know exactly how antagonistic Laurent is and what is part of his plan and what's not. So my questions at this point, put it in purple. My questions is, would Laurent really make drugs and involve Ed? Or is this kind of like Sakura Magic itself? It wasn't ever going to be a drug even to begin with. Is that part of the scheme, right? Because Sakura Magic was just candy. So is this just an elaborate way to make candy and Ed's not getting it, right? Because he won't listen, right? Interesting. And so I like the scene where Paula comes up and she's like, wow, this abandoned factory. It's a shame nobody noticed this like years ago. Suspicious Anderson. I like Anderson that he's just like done with her, but he has to cooperate with her because she's got him by the balls. Like, she just walks in the men's restroom like, sup, And Salazar. I think it's character development too that Salazar is shown with the bottle of liquor. Like, he has an alcohol problem, probably because he's not, because he has trouble, dealing with everything going on. Laurent's just in a Hawaiian shirt for no reason. He's just like in a Hawaiian shirt and is just like hanging out, having the time of his life. It's like, what are you doing, Laurent? He says Ed is an expert at making drugs. Okay. And has hired him to do it. And Ed's like, what is this? And she's like, it's instructions on how to make a drug. And Ed's like, I'm not here for it. He's like, drugs are drugs. And she's like, that's true. And Abby doesn't seem like she wants to be involved with it either. She's like, you call yourself a con artist. And he's like, I don't want any part of it. And she's like, I don't want a part either. She's like, I don't get involved with drugs either. And he's like, me either. So there's some mystery there, right? I do love the baseball scene where they go to the baseball diamond and that's when he asks about his son. And it's so masterful in that moment because Salazar, like, when he brings up the wife and kid, his eye just twitches a little bit. That's all we need. That's all the reaction we need is just his eye twitching. That's all that was required for that scene. And that's it. And I do think it's kind of cute that Ed is still looking for the footprints of the Razzie star in that moment. And there are questions with Ed's character too, like, was he looking for the footprints of the Razzie actor for show to get on Salazar's good side? Or was he genuinely looking for him? There's stuff about each character that we don't know because we don't get a chance to really fully explore them. Right? Well, we don't fully know their characters yet. We don't know what's really their character and what's not their character, right? And so then we get little Tom, and little Tom is so precious. I freaking love him. It reminds me a lot of Banana Fish. The relationship between Salazar and Tom reminds me of Max and Michael from Banana Fish. If you've seen that series, it's different, but it's similar, like the attitude between the two, right? Although Max is not clearly as jaded as Salazar, right? But Tom and Michael have both like this innocence to them. I also like how Tom calls Ed a ninja, and then and they go on the rides, and Salazar's unmoving, but Ed can't take the roller coaster. I'm with him. I suck with roller coasters. And then they go to the capsule thing, and he gets the gangster, and he's like, and we see the poster, which is gang versus police and FBI. And he's like, I wish there was a bodyguard one like my dad. Which is so sweet, right? That he's like, my dad is much cooler than a gang member. And Ed tries to say, well, your dad's like a gangster, isn't he? And he's like, no, he's a bodyguard that protects VIPs. He's cooler than the policemen and the FBI. And Ed trading him the Hideyoshi toy for the gangster toy is rather interesting, right? It's almost like he offers to take on that burden from Tom to say like, no, okay, fine, I'll take the thing that you don't like and give you this new thing. So yeah, then he goes to the bathroom. I just love the idea that he's just sitting there thinking. He's thinking about how Tom reminds him of himself and Salazar reminds him of his dad. And then Anderson shows up in the bathroom next to the rainbow. It's like, let Ed pee in peace. And then Pola just walks in being like, I've got a dick as big as the guys in this room. So here I am, I do like Pola a lot. But that begs the question, right? Because we'll talk about this here in a second. Pola basically says that they want their help in catching Laurent and Cassano in one big gig. Is she really going to catch Laurent? Is she? Or is she going to let him go? We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, she corners him in the bathroom, gives him the glasses, the specs that will have like the interface so they can talk to one another. He just has to decide to put it on, right? And he goes back to the kid, and they talk about how Tom wishes that every day was as good as this one. Don't we all wish we could go to an amusement park at some point, right? Okay. So Abby shows up, and then there's Laurent sitting in his hotel room with champagne like it's no big deal. He says, how are you? And he's like, again, he said, I heard the factory will be finished soon. Are your studies going well? And I like that Ed very much says like, he's like, no. He's like, who knows if they're going well? Basically suggesting, that Abby has told Laurent that Ed doesn't want to make the stuff. She's told him that. So based on that he knows Ed doesn't want to make the stuff, what do we do with that? He says, once we get the money, we'll escape right away. And he's like, and I love that Ed's like, I hope you suffer one day. Right? And Abby's like, I agree. So which is so curious. Why does Abby keep working for Laurent? What does he have against her? We don't know. And he says the FBI has started moving. And she's like, you didn't tell me. He's like, I'm telling you now. An acquaintance said that Pola Dickens is running the show. So the question is, who is his acquaintance, right? Who is Laurent's acquaintance? Is it Pola? Is it Pola herself? I dare say that any of the police officers who would say that she's running the show, they don't like her. There's a little part of me that's like, does Pola and Laurent work together? Does she let him go? I don't know. Is he like a secret underground FBI man posing as a con man? And he's trying to bust Cassano too? I don't know. Is everyone using Ed in this show and Ed just doesn't realize it? That's a great question. But it just seems like Laurent is way too nonchalant about all of this to just let it happen, right? He's way too nonchalant. It's like he's letting it happen. He doesn't care, but he's super nonchalant and chill about it. And I'm like, I feel like Laurent would be more cautious or concerned, but he doesn't care at all. So I feel like he's in control of the situation and knows that something is gonna go his way. Or maybe he's just that happy-go-lucky and thinks it'll all work out. I don't know. I mean, maybe he thinks that that's the case. But something's up, right? Something is amiss, and we just don't know exactly what it is yet. But it's almost like he's giving Ed an opportunity to acknowledge who she is and admit that he's getting their help. I feel like Laurent knows that Pola's made contact with Ed, and he's giving Ed an opportunity to admit it to him, but he's not doing it. So Laurent's like, okay, I'll let you play your game. Think you're in control. We'll see how this goes. I'm so curious about Abby and Laurent's relationship. I obviously want to find out as the show goes. But Abby does say, I don't want to play around with her. And he's like, it'll all work out. Buenas noches. I'm like, why does he say buenas noches? Why does he think it all is going to work out? Is Salazar working with Laurent? It's just, there's all these questions. And Laurent is so mysterious that we just don't know, right? But I feel like Laurent thinks everything's going to work out. So, like, why does Abby work with Laurent? And then is Ed going to help Laurent escape or capture him? I'm very curious about that as well. I feel like Ed maybe right now is genuinely working with Pola, but who knows how that's going to go down. What the fudge? And he says, if you stay with a sloppy guy like that. And she's like, I know. When it gets bad, I'll protect myself. So it's not bad yet. And Laurent seems sloppy, but I don't know. I feel like he's in control. And then the moment that he goes to pick up the glasses, the bear knocks over, that's when he sees the cord. And the camera. Oh my God, that was such a moment. That camera coming out and being like, oh my God, it's been videotaped this entire time. He's been wiretapped. Oh my God, it's great. And the thing is, you don't realize how much Salazar told Cassano, if anything. So Laurent's just hanging out like everything's fine and dandy, just eating my sushi. And Cassano has no clue. We don't know what the deal with the guy that got baseball batted to the nuts is either. Obviously, he was a traitor. We don't know how. But it's established that Cassano's going to be super pissed if he finds out Ed was betraying him. Very pissed indeed. And it's like, okay, what do we do with that? And so, yeah. And of course, Abby's there hanging out. Abby has like one pair of shorts and one shirt. And that's it. And then Laurent sees Ed come up and he's like, oh, hey. You're late. And Ed's like, I want to talk to you for a second. And then before he gets a chance to do so, that's when Cassano makes a move. Okay. So we don't know if they ever got to talk to one another. Now, the thing of it is that Laurent, as all this is going down, we see the guy behind him with the baseball bat that got baseball batted. We see him kind of like smile crookedly about everything. We don't know how he betrayed Cassano, what the deal was with him. But Cassano says, I was arrested by those pigs the other day, but I wasn't indicted. It's obvious who can put me in jail. Not a single person on earth. And Laurent's just like, he's just very calm and collected through all of this as they're talking about family members, right? And the way that he looks at Abby, he looks at Laurent, he looks at Ed. It's like Cassano is calling all three of them out, being like, you wouldn't betray me, right, Abby? You wouldn't betray me, right, Laurent? You wouldn't betray me, right, Ed? Like, it's just, he calls all of them out individually, like he's cornered all of them, which after the wiretap scene, you think is the case. It's like, what the fudge? And then come to find out, no, that is not the case. It's like, no, he got it confused. But man, setting up the tension that I thought Cassano was like going to slam his head in with the baseball bat. He's like, you're not going to betray me, right? Oh my God. Ah! So basically, if he betrays Kasano, things are going to get really bad. So hopefully we wrap this up before the factory opens and you're required to make this and it comes out you don't know what you're doing. Because I don't think he's watching the videos on how to make Sakura Magic. And that's when he confronts Tom, or he confronts Salazar about the video camera and about Tom. So the one thing Salazar does bring up is the idea that it's not easy being involved with choices that you make, like being a gang leader. Again, bringing up the idea that maybe there's something about Ozaki and why he did the things that he did that we, the audience, are not privy to yet, right? And Ed just reminds him, he's like, you need to be considerate of your son and what this truth is going to do to you. And then we go to the past where he's coming home. It looks like from middle school, right? Because he has the middle school thing on. And we don't see the mom's face, but she like literally faints after finding out about her husband. Like she had no clue. And that's what he sees. He says, members of an organized crime group, the Suzaku Association, were arrested. Sunio Tajima, Juno Ishii of the same association, and the lawyer Seiji Ozaki, age 43. The trio tricked minors who were illegal aliens and suspected of having sold them to overseas buyers. Ozaki, a principal offender. And we see the cat family with the three in the middle. Would use his position as a lawyer to become a surety. And then she just collapses. Yeah. And that's when Ed decides he's going to help out Pola. Because he's like, I'm not going to get involved in something that's going to lead to something even worse. Because he's like, I saw... And maybe Ed is thinking that his father was involved in something like that. But he's like, no. He's like, he's seen what Salazar has become. He knows what his father became. He's like, I'm not going to get involved with that and go down the route and become a drug dealer. No. So he decides to help out Pola. And he's like, let Salazar go and I'll help you. Oh my gosh. So, man... Just such a good episode, and they still have us left in the dark about so much of it. Like, I don't know, what do we do with all these different things that are involved in it? Oh, man. There's a lot left unsaid, and I'm really, really curious what's going to go down, so we'll see, I guess, right? But, oh, man, I'm really excited. So I'm going to finish up this tea, rest my throat. Hopefully it's better next week and we can go back full force. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week, hopefully with a better sounding voice for Great Pretenders episode 5. Bye.